Today is Thursday, January 15th, 2026, and here is the news that you can use. Our lead story is the Department of War's new AI acceleration strategy and the way it frames speed, vendors, and governance. We'll also hit NIST's security move on AI agents, a big voice AI funding round, an AWS infrastructure upgrade, and then a consolidated cyber and operational risk wrap. The Department of War has launched an AI acceleration strategy that is meant to move the Pentagon into an AI-first execution posture. And this is the one to read if you sell into defense or inherit their patterns. The plan is built around 7 pace-setting projects, which are essentially a portfolio of high-visibility outcomes with single accountable leaders, aggressive timelines, and measurable deliverables. It openly name-checks frontier models and includes a department-wide access concept called GenAI.mil, plus an enterprise agents push meant to transform everyday workflows. Defense One's analysis spotlights how the public narrative is being framed as a shift away from ethics, and whether you agree or disagree, that framing creates reputational and oversight risk that will hit program managers, vendors, and security teams alike. If you're a CIO or CISO, the move here is to demand an execution scoreboard, define guardrails for vendor and model selection, and make sure auditability is designed in before the first pilot becomes a production dependency. Next, NIST Center for AI Standards and Innovation is asking industry and researchers for input on securing AI agent systems. And that's a signal that agent security is about to get formalized. Agents create a different risk surface because they plan, call tools, and take actions. So prompt injection becomes a path to real-world impact rather than just bad text on a screen. NIST specifically calls out risks like indirect prompt injection, poisoning, and cases where a model can take harmful actions even without adversarial input, which is a polite way of saying we need stronger safety engineering in the action layer. The near-term action for platform teams is straightforward. Inventory the agents you have, lock down tool permissions, implement strong logging, and design approvals for high-risk actions. If you want to influence the standard, this is also the moment to provide real examples and mitigation playbooks, because the first wave of guidance will shape what auditors and regulators consider baseline practice. On the market side, voice AI just got a big validation signal as DeepGram announced a $130 million Series C round at a $1.3 billion valuation, and Reuters separately confirmed the round details. For leaders building support automation, sales enablement, or real-time operational workflows, this matters because voice is becoming the most natural interface for agentic systems, and it tends to surface privacy and compliance issues faster than chat. Funding at this scale usually translates into faster product expansion, more enterprise features, and more vendor competition, which can improve pricing and capabilities, but also increases integration churn. The practical move is to treat audio and transcripts as sensitive data, require explicit retention and redaction controls, and make sure your vendor contract covers access, training use, and incident response. If you're planning a voice rollout, measure latency, accuracy, and governance readiness. Because the risk isn't just whether the model works, it's whether the workflow stays controlled under real call pressure. AWS made a quiet but very practical AI infrastructure improvement in SageMaker Hyperpod by validating service quotas before cluster creation in the console. That sounds small until you've burned days on failed builds, because the account didn't have the right instance, storage, or networking limits in place. The new flow checks quotas against your planned cluster configuration and pushes you toward the quota increase steps before provisioning starts, which shortens the loop between planning and production. For CTOs and platform leaders, this is a reminder that AI infrastructure is still heavily shaped by operational guardrails like quotas, approvals, and capacity planning. If you run multi-account environments, standardize quota baselines and bake quota checks into pre-flight automation, because the best AI roadmap still dies if the cluster can't stand up. Done right, this is a reliability and time-to-value win that also reduces surprise spend and scramble behavior. Now for a consolidated cyber and operational risk wrap with 3 items that share a common theme. Your controls have to survive real-world change, from contracting to patches to OT exposure. First, the Federal Register posted a supplemental notice tied to the Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation Supplement for cyber incident reporting and cloud computing, which is a reminder that reporting and safeguarding obligations remain a core compliance surface for defense-adjacent vendors. Second, Microsoft documents that January 2026 security updates can cause the Windows app to fail credential prompts for Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365. And that's the kind of issue that becomes a business interruption, even if it's not a classic vulnerability headline. Third, the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity published an advisory summarizing recent industrial control systems advisories from early January, which is a cue for OT and facilities teams to keep ingesting upstream alerts, even when direct vendor patching is slow. The action is to coordinate security, endpoint, and ops, validate patch rings, test remote access workflows after updates, and ensure OT alert intake is connected to an owner who can triage and schedule mitigations. This is how you avoid the quiet failures that turn into executive escalations. That's the exchange for today. Remember, inspect what you expect. If you are interested in how this newscast is created or want more information about how to be a part of it, contact podcasts at metorasolutions.com. That's podcasts with an S at metorasolutions.com.